Good morning to you. Welcome to Asake Online. My name is Zenzele Ndebele, and this is the Breakfast Club. We keep urging you to please stay safe. Where possible, stay at home. But if you can't, if you have things to do outside, if you are meeting people, please wear a mask, sanitize, keep a social distance. We have seen that in the last few days, cases are going up, but also what is really shocking is the deaths that are going up. In the last 24 hours yesterday, on the 18th, about 60 people. About 60 people were reported dead from COVID, and that's quite a high number in Zimbabwean standards. And this could get worse, and we can only try and prevent this by making sure that we maintain social distancing. We try by all means to stay at home. I know it's not easy staying at home, especially when we are still, it's in January. A lot of people are looking for something to eat. We are looking for jobs. We are trying to make ends meet, and at the same time, we're fighting COVID. So it's really, really a big problem. And today in my program, The Breakfast Club, I'll be talking to Samuel Wadzai, who is the director of the Vendors Initiative for Social and Economic Transformation. In short, it's Viset. Samuel, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, let's start on a sad note. We've seen how many people are dying this day. These days because of COVID. How is COVID affecting informal traders in your sector?
Yeah, Zenzele, we are in a very difficult period as a country, as a region, and even globally. Everyone is affected in a big way by this pandemic. And we would like to take this opportunity as an organization also to convey our condolences to the families that have lost their beloved ones. It's a very difficult period for everyone. And we have not been spared as the informal economy. As you may be aware, the lockdown restrictions that were put in place by the government as a response to the surge in the number of infections and deaths, the restrictions has literally stopped us, from working. All the markets have been closed, and it means we are not able to put food on the table. So this is a very, very difficult period for us. And we are also aware of the fact that this virus is spreading very fast in the country. Some are saying there is a new variant which emanated from the Republic of South Africa and even in the UK, and it's spreading very fast. We are seeing very high numbers, being recorded every day, and it means that we all have to play safe and not to seem to be contributing to the further spreading of this deadly virus. But as an informal sector, we are greatly, severely affected because we are unable to put food on the table. Zenzele, over 90% of the population is surviving through the informal sector, the informal economy, one way or the other. So it means the majority of the people have been rendered, hopeless in terms of their ability to put food on the table.
Yeah, this is the second lockdown. Last year there was also a lockdown, and this lockdown comes in January when people have mostly, people spend in December. And How many members is your organization working with, and what's the situation with them?
Okay, so we are a national organization, Zenzele, with membership throughout the country. Our leadership structure is known as SOCHAMs. We call them social economic champions. So we have got these structures in all the major towns and the cities. So this is like the core group that assists the organization in detecting challenges as they occur, in engaging with authorities to try to solve some of the challenges. So our database at the moment is telling us that we have got over 68,000 members throughout the country, but it's growing by the day, and we continue to welcome every informal trader who wants a home, in terms of ensuring that we push for the changes of the policies that are that are being used at the moment. But one point that I want to stress, Zenzele, is that there is need for the informal economy itself to unite and speak with one voice. And I am saying this because COVID has really exposed the loopholes in terms of our ability as a sector, to put forward alternatives and solutions when we are confronted by crises like the one before us. I think we can do better in terms of ensuring that we reach out to solution holders, and properly represent our constituents. I say this from the bottom of my heart because when we see how people are suffering at the moment because of inability to put food on the table. I think as a country, as a union, we could have done better in terms of ensuring that we are better prepared to assist the vulnerable of our society.
Yeah, you are talking about better preparedness as a union. What do you think are if looking back with the benefit of hindsight, what do you think are some of the measures that you would have put in place to make sure that you minimize the suffering of the members?
Yeah, so we have got an archaic social protection policy in this country, and I think as an organization and as a sector, we had all the time to push for the realignment of the social protection system in this country so that it covers the informal economy. Zenzele, with over 95% of the population surviving through the informal economy, there is no reason, there's no justification whatsoever to continue having a social protection system that only caters for the formal job market. We need to expand this, and as the informal economy association, we are supposed to be seen to be pushing for that. We've already started that process, and I think COVID has taught us a lot of lessons that we need to protect the sector because that's where the majority are, and we need to cushion them during these times of crisis. Of course, we expect a lot of work to be done by the authorities, the government. As we may be aware, Zenzele, during the initial lockdown in March of last year, the government pronounced that they were going to put in place and institute a cushioning fund to support those that are in the informal economy. And as an organization, we also participated in the development of the databases that were going to be used by local authorities to identify those that are in the informal economy and assist them with some cash grants. Up to this day, my brother, nothing substantive has been done in terms of giving those that that are in the informal sector those grants so that they can continue to survive. This is something that can even be confirmed by some of our partners in the informal economy, some other associations in the informal economy. Nothing has been done, and this is now a dire situation. You see, we don't want a situation where we end up being accused as the informal traders. I was just reading an editorial comment from one of these daily newspapers where they are basically accusing vendors and informal traders of not adhering to the regulations that were put in place by the government. I totally agree with and I totally hear where they are coming from. But my are dying of hunger. There is nothing to put on the table. And on the other hand, this virus is spreading at a very, very fast pace, and we are aware of the limitations of our healthy delivery system. So there is need for the government to come in quickly and ensure that they support the informal economy. That is the only way that these lockdowns can work. Otherwise, people will be forced to go out and try to make a living, and in the same process, contributing to the further spread of the virus, which we don't support as an organization. That's why we are calling for the authorities to come in quickly and institute that grant, that the cushioning grant that they promised.
Yeah, you're mentioning very important points. The issue of that at the end of the day, people cannot stay at home because they have nothing to eat. I've also seen in a number of publications people saying, it is the informal traders that are, driving the fake certificate markets because they want to go and buy stuff outside the country and all those kind of things. But let's talk about the cautioning fee that I mean, allowance that you talked about. Last year, government put a lot of money in that sector, and they told us that they were going to be giving out people. And you're saying, I mean, most of your members never received that money.
Yes, yes, that's very true. And this is something that can also be confirmed by other associations. It's not only Viset that was approached by the Minister of Women Affairs, Community and SMEs Development to come up with a database or to identify members who should benefit. Other associations also were approached. But if you contact them right now, no one will confirm that they received anything substantive. Very few people, less than a 1% of the databases that we created, received those funds. And I'm glad that the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission just a few days ago they really encouraged the government to ensure that this fund is action. People are really suffering, and it's really very disappointing on the part of the government to also expect people to be just staying at home without anything to put on the table. Other countries have managed to come in and support the vulnerable, and the majority of the vulnerable are found in the informal economy. So, as an organization, we are calling upon the government to immediately, without any further delay, help the informal sector with that cushioning facility so that people can continue to abide by the dictates of the lockdown regulations that were put in place, which we are willing to support as an organization, and we've been supporting those regulations.
Yeah, there is have you ever, as an organization, maybe of late, engaged the government to say how can informal traders work in a more, you know, a healthier way where that provides social distancing and avoids the spread of the virus? Because I find that yes, it's a lockdown, but going to town, there are people everywhere. Buses are always packed with people. So where are these people going?
Yeah, so a very, very important point that you are raising. We have not only waited for the government to do something. As an organization, we have also to try to assist, though in a small way, to try some markets that are still opening, that are still functioning, those that are vegetable. I give you an example for there are a very small group of traders that are still operating. So during the first lockdown, we conducted what we called market tours, where we were basically visiting the markets that were operating, just trying to have an appreciation of how traders are operating, and also to continue to run the awareness campaigns that we've been running as an organization to ensure that our members have got all the information about this virus. They've got all the information about how they can contribute to the curbing of the spread of the virus, and also all the social distancing guidelines that were put in place by the government through the World Health Organization. We have also consistently ensured that we disseminate information to our members about the statistics, where the infections are high, are ballooning, so that they are aware of these new developments and play it safe. We have also managed to do donations. In some of these markets, we have been in Beitbridge, we have been there in Bulawayo through our partner, Bulawayo Vendors and Traders Association. We have been in Gweru, or here in Harare. We made various donations of PPEs. So the idea here is to say that this is just a token as an organization, but we are challenging authorities to say if there are any donations that they receive. I think we see a lot of donations, being paraded at the Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation. This is the time to use those donations and assist the traders who are operating to work from safe space. We need to go out there and assist those that are in the market. But let me go to the point that I wanted to stress, that we are arguing as an organization that the informal economy is the economy. We cannot close the informal economy without also closing the biggest chunk of the economy. So we are arguing that let's economy and categorize them under the so-called essential services provider, so that we are able to protect that segment of the economy that is critical to the survival of the majority of this population. We then come in as local authorities, as associations, and assist those that are operating, so that they continue to operate within the confines of the restrictions or the measures that were put in place by the government. This idea of closing, shutting down the informal economy totally will not work, given the state of our economy and the fact that the informal economy is the economy and it's employing over 95% of the population.
You raise very valid points, and I find that most of the times when the government makes such pronunciations or pronouncements, actually they don't look at the broader sector of the economy. And this is why I find that after the announcements, there are a lot of amendments that are done, because someone would have then raised that, but there's this and there's this. So assuming that, because we are seeing that the numbers are not going down, and this lockdown is supposed to end on the 30th of January. And if things like this, they are likely to extend. If there is an extension of this lockdown, I mean, what does it mean to informal traders?
Yeah, it means the difficulties that I've just highlighted will continue. But I don't want to be a pessimist. I think we have got all the time as the associations and the government and local authorities, they've got all the time to have a relook on these measures that were put in place. We need to amend them and allow part of the informal economy to operate. We don't want a situation where people die of hunger and are forced to go out and contribute to the spread of the virus. So this is the time to have a relook on the measures that were put in place and ensure that the informal economy is categorized under essential services providers, so that part of the markets that are closed are opened, and those that will be operating those markets are properly supported. Then secondly, the issue of social protection that I talked about. This is the time again to have a relook on our social protection systems and change them entirely, so that they also incorporate the informal economy, which is a dominant, sector of the economy.
Yeah, thanks a lot for highlighting some of these issues. But as we get to the close, lastly, what can you say to the informal traders who are trying to make a living, and what words of encouragement can you say to make sure that they also stay safe, practice social distancing? At the end of the day, we need to survive this pandemic so that we can fight another day.
Okay, before I say those words, I also want to say something to the authorities. It is
go ahead.
it is very important to ensure that before we make these far-reaching policy pronouncements, like the measures that were put under the level 4 lockdown, we conduct consultations that are inclusive. It's important to listen to those that are going to be affected by these policies pronouncements. I'm not saying that there was anything wrong that was done. We also the rise in the numbers of deaths and infections. But it was important for authorities to consult. We were going to give them very valuable advice, because we are the informal traders. We know how we are going to be affected by this, and we know how we can play it safe. We are able to monitor each other, even if we are allowed to continue to operate. So let's consult. Let's just bring policies without, involving those that are going to be affected by the policy pronouncement. But lastly, to our members, I maintain that this is a very dangerous virus. We are seeing the deaths. Only yesterday, 60 people they just dying like that in 24 hours. So it means this is a very dangerous disease. Let's play safe. Let's respect the regulations that were put in place, and also let's ensure that information is out there to our members, our SOCHAMs, our leadership structure throughout the country. Let's continue to give information and assist each other so that when we are in challenges, let's support each other. We are one people, and this is the time to show unity.
Thank you very much for those words of encouragement, not only to the informal traders, but to the authorities as well, encouraging them to actually make sure that measures are put in place so that people are protected. Because at the end of the day, the government is there to protect its citizens. If the government cannot protect its citizens, then we have a very big problem. So we always encourage the government to say, it's funny that they always make pronouncements, say we have huge amounts of money for this, for that. But when you go to the ground, you find that no one has benefited from the amounts of money. When last year they announced billions of dollars that were going to go to the informal traders, people were made to get in a net one line so that they can get this money. And you then ask yourself that at the end of the day, who benefited from the money? So a combination of poor social protection and COVID is quite deadly. And this is the time when we actually need our leadership to stand up and protect our citizens, because many people cannot afford to stay a day in the house without actually going out to fend for themselves. Many people live from hand to mouth. They have to sell something to put food on the table. And this is the serious situation that we find ourselves in. Thank you very much, Samuel, for this enlightening discussion. We learn a lot every day. And many times when we talk about lockdowns, no one thinks about the informal traders.
Yeah.
So this was the discussion with Vendors Initiative for Social and Economic Transformation, Viset Director Samuel Wadzai, where we're talking about how the lockdown has affected informal traders, who are the majority of the people in Zimbabwe. Our economy is mostly informal. And when we talk about essential services and manufacturing, most of the times we don't talk about them. But they're the people who actually drive the economy. So it is important that our government puts in place measures to make sure that they survive at least, because either you die of hunger or you die of COVID, and it's not getting any better. My name is Zenzele Ndebele. This was the Breakfast Club. Till we meet again tomorrow in other programs. Have a good day.